Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This little Japanese black pine I bought last year, can't remember when. I bought it online and it came in a little plastic pot of mud. It really was, it was mud. There's no other explanation for what it was planted in. But, you know, probably grown on from a seedling, and lots of them, so, you know, don't spend a fortune if you plan on selling them. It was pre-wired, so this wire has been on there since I bought it, and I've done nothing with it. But it is biting in, or it already has bitten in. Not quite the end of the world on a pine, obviously, but I'm going to take it off now. There's no way I'm going to try and unwrap this, so I'm just going to cut a piece and then see if it'll unwind, just to see how strong it is. It does bend, so I can take it off in pieces, and we'll see how we go. Always difficult when you've got two pieces really close together like that. Cut them both together perhaps. There we go. That worked. That's if it's cut through both of them. It's probably gone halfway through one. What about you? Are you loose? Oh yeah. And it hasn't actually bitten in as much as I thought. It may have bitten in, you know, worse higher up, but at the moment it doesn't seem too bad. And being a pine, you know, eventually when this tree's old enough it'll have gnarly bark, so it won't matter. Right, now let's see how far we can go up the trunk before we end up having to cut it again. It's relatively soft wire. Given how thick it looks, it's actually bending quite easily, so it's undoing. As long as it's not going to sort of snag and start, you know, as soon as it starts to, this piece ends there, so that is that piece done. Right, if that's the case, then we should be able to do the same with the other two. Take them up to that point. So I'm just using the cutters to grab hold of it. I'm not actually cutting anything at the moment. It's when you've got a jagged end, trying to peel it away from the trunk with your finger. I mean, you can break your skin. I mean, you can actually do damage. They are quite sharp ends in some cases. Now this piece, I'm not sure this piece actually ends here. It might actually go on up the trunk. But there's a little piece of wire on that side branch that's holding it in place. So if we take that off, or at least cut it, then this piece goes on up the trunk, so I will cut it there so that we can start again. So where it was 3, it's now gone to 2 up the rest of the trunk, so these pieces are a bit longer. I quite like looking at and almost admire good wiring that's been thought out so far in advance. You know, to actually think that through, you know, I need some pretty sturdy wire up to that point, and then not quite so much from that point on, so I need, like, you know, 3 pieces, 2 much longer than the other one. It might not have been planned, it might have just been cut off at the appropriate point. But this is unwinding quite nicely, which is good. I wasn't expecting this to come off this easily, I must admit. But that it is. I wish I hadn't watered this tree this morning now. This whole tree's soaking wet. Well, it's had the hose on it. But I suspect that the shape that's been put into the main trunk by this thicker wire will remain. That's not going to undo itself, I don't think. It'll be fine. Right, so now it's the small stuff. This will unwind easily, providing it's not tied in knots. Quite honestly, it's not even doing anything. Some of this wire going up these branches was probably put on there with a plan to do something later and never got round to doing it. And I haven't even put much thought into what I'm going to do with this tree yet. I thought the important thing last year was to get it out of the mud, and I put up with it being in that mud for last year so that it could get to the point in the spring where it would be hopefully the best time to repot it. And you know, obviously you disturb the roots, although the roots did come out of that pot quite easily, but you know, the less disturbance you can do, the more chance your tree will take off again once you've repotted it. And this one has grown. Isn't it funny, that thick wire didn't cut in, but this thin one has, because it was wound on a lot tighter. But it's coming off. It's a very thin wire. We're at the point where we've now got to hold the branch as we unwind it, otherwise it will bend the branch rather than the wire coming undone. That's that one. And got this one to do. Ouch! That's what I mean about sharp ends. You just take it away from the trunk so that you can get hold of it, and it won't dig in your finger, which that just did. It's nearly there. Right, that's the top part of the tree. Then we've got this quite a lot of thin wire on these lower branches as well. And they have been not done very well, quite honestly. And this is where you can damage branches, where you've got wire that as you undo it, you can see it bending the branches. You have to hold the branch. If you don't, you can easily snap it, tear it from the trunk. So you've just got to go careful. In fact, I'm going to cut that loop rather than try and bend it. Oh, I must get some new wire cutters. These don't cut like they once did. They're it's my own fault to a degree, but I've sharpened them. Of course, as you sharpen them, you reduce the size of the blades, because you're taking metal off basically to produce an edge, and as a consequence, they don't quite meet. And their basic principle is based on coming to a point. And they don't anymore, so this one's fragile. The whole branch is fragile. Tiny little branch. Gotcha. Once you can get hold of the piece, then you can hold the branch and undo one coil at a time, holding the branch as you go until you get to the point where it will just come off. So there we go. Right, quite a lot of needles came off as a consequence, but they've been knocked off basically. So what's happening with the tree then? The very apex up here has got a cluster of buds, one big one and 3 small ones in a circle around it. Below that we have back budding that's starting to grow, so we effectively have 2 shoots. 2 shoots. So I think that apex ought to come off, really. How much growing season have we got left? So obviously it's been left to grow to get some thickness, but this is always going to be a problem on this tree, is this huge length here, unless I can get it to shoot out. And the only way to get it to shoot out is to take the auxins out of that tip. So let's do it. Let's see what that will produce, because I don't want this tree to be 8 foot tall. So, you know, this apex is serving no purpose now. It's done its job. Right, so these 2 shoots I'm going to leave, but with any luck we might get some buds where these needles are. Now, 2 schools of thought. Let the buds develop at the base of where those needles are. Another school of thought is if you take the needles off, that's where the bud will form. So let's do some of each then. Let's pluck some off at various places and see if the buds form where the needles have been removed. They may or may not, but now they've got a chance. But I'm not taking too many needles off. This is, you know, the solar panel that's feeding the tree, basically, is all these old needles. Now on this branch we've got a new growth here and a bud at the tip. Don't think there's much more than that. This little branch here. See, we've got a cluster here. We've got a knot of 4 branches. That can't stay like that, or it will increase in size and be very, very difficult to remove in the future. But I don't know what I'm going to do with this tree as a design yet, and to decide which branches to keep and which to take off when you haven't got a design in your head might not be the best of ideas. But the basic shape of the trunk I'm sort of stuck with. I doubt if I could do much with that. We've got inverse taper, which is annoying. I'm hoping that, you know, the trunk will thicken up. It's not actually a very good tree, quite honestly, but it has the bones of being capable of being one, but it's difficult to know what to do with it. Well, if you don't know what to do, don't do anything. But something's got to give here. If I can get some branches, some buds to grow on this length here, then one of them can produce a continuation of the trunk. But I think, quite honestly, one of these 4 down here is going to be the continuation of the trunk. So this is destined to come off. But I'm not going to do it now. As I say, there's too much greenery here. To remove that now is going to take half the strength of the tree away. Now, okay, we've still got probably 2 months worth of growing season, which could push energy into those other branches. So by taking that off and choosing which one will be the new leader and taking the other 2 off, or 1 off, maybe that will produce a better tree. It depends. How tall do I want this tree? As I said, this S shape, this shape here is not my favourite idea. Well, I brought it in here to take the wire off. The wire is off. So making a decision now when I'm not really in the mood, I'm not being artistic, I'm being functional, I think it's probably better to leave the rest of it alone for now, and let it carry on, you know, gaining some strength this year, and then think about what to do next year. And it may need a new potting angle. You know, at the moment there are choices there. Ooh, water everywhere now. As I said, wish I hadn't watered it now. Anyway, I wanted to get the wire off, that's done. And I've taken the main trunk out to push some energy into these little buds, so that I've at least got a break at that point rather than a continuation of a long skinny bit. And with any luck it might push some buds out a bit lower down, which will give me choices. If I could get a bud quite low down on this section, I might be able to keep it. Yeah, but it's more likely that one of these 4 will become the new leader, and it'll be the one with the most buds on, which is one of the 2 larger ones. Anyway, just a quick look. As I say, it could become something nice, but At the moment I can't see it. They always say the skill is seeing the tree in the bush. I haven't got a bush to look at, I've got a tree and I can't see the tree in this tree. At the moment I just don't get it, so I don't know what to do with it. So as I said, if you're never sure, rather than work in haste or make snap decisions, just leave it. One day a sudden bit of inspiration may come and I'll think, yeah, well, that's obvious what I need to do with that. But at the moment it's not, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Right, if you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. And don't forget the old thumbs up, like the video, unless you dislike it intensely. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.